Alright guys, Dreadnought's back here today with another review. We're going to be looking at the Bandai Tamashii Nation's movie realization, Star Wars Stormtrooper. And as you can see on the front of the package, nice picture of the figure. Let's take a closer look at some of the packaging. You can see on the side the Disney logo, Stormtrooper there. On the other side, looks like we have a more granulated look of the figure. And then not much going on the top. And as we look at the back, you can see here some more pics of the figure and the accessories, along with the Darth Vader that came from this series. Did notice one thing. Looks like my package was resealed, so hopefully that won't present any problems when we take a look at it, because it does look like this was added as well, and that may be a customs issue. Again, nothing on the top and bottom. Let's break this thing open and take a look at it. And a look inside the packaging, you can see comes with a clear sheet of plastic over the figure and accessories, which can be easily removed, no twisty ties, and one set of instructions for the accessories and such. Alright, and here he is out of the package, looking very nice. Great sculpt work, some nice detail, especially in the paint apps, you know, what we've come to expect with import figures. Good articulation overall. I do have a few gripes, and we'll talk about those a little more in depth here in a moment. But overall, just a great looking figure. And as we get a closer look at the accessories, you can see here it comes with 4 sets of hands, the sword and sheath, and a blaster rifle. The first 2 here are closed fist. We've got some open hands here that actually will hold the sword or the blaster rifle. We've got 2 sword holding hands here, and then 2 blaster rifle hands here with a more predominant trigger finger. Now, I shot actually 31 takes trying to show getting these hands on the figure, and each time it took so long that I would have to cut the video. So I'm not going to be able to show you that on the video, and this is probably one of my major gripes, is the fact that they are extremely hard to put on the figure unless you've worked them on quite a few times. I will try one of the closed-fisted because it seems to be one that I've used quite often, so it has gone on a little easier, and you can see there that one did go on, but you really have to work these in to get them on. So there you go. They do just pop off, but just getting the other ones back on is extremely hard, and I'm not going to put you through that. I do want to show you these holdings and things, so we'll do the sword first. And the sword is extremely difficult. At times I've actually felt like it was going to break to get in there on that hand, but there it is holding that. It does a good job of holding that sword. Let's see here. We'll look at this one, and this one will semi-loosely hold the sword, but it's not really meant for that. It's really, you know, will hold the blaster somewhat, and the blaster is actually a little bit loose in that as well. But you can see that works as well. And then this one's actually made for the blaster, so let's see that one, and you can see that fits in there very well. And we'll take a closer look at this blaster, and you can see that up close. It's got some nice detail in it. You can see, or hopefully you can see, the sculpt with a little bit of wood grain in the bottom there. Some nice silver paint apps. You know, it looks like it's got some brown wash over it to age it. And there's a good look at the other side. It actually has articulation, which I like. The hammer can pull back. That's really neat. We'll take a look at the sword. As you can see here, there's some nice gray on the handle, some bronze or brown wash in between there, and on the back of the hilt. Blade looks really nice. Some good texture in there. Two-tone with the silver. Just a nice piece there. Piece I was more disappointed in was the scabbard with the sheath, and you can see it's just plain brown, no weathering, you know, not any detail on that piece. So, you know, a little disappointed on that one. And we'll take a closer look at the sculpt, and you can see some very nice detail in this helmet, some silver paint apps here, and across the visor here, up here. Just some great sculpt work in this figure. Looks very nice. You can see some brown wash on top of the helmet. Just some very nice sculpting in there. Just looks good. You know, it gives a weathered look to it. You know, as we turn it around and look on the back, a little disappointed in this piece back here. As you can see, it's bent, and it's going to need some heat to straighten that out. It came that way. You know, it's a very pliable material, and it makes good for removing the head, but it's just, you know, it's out of whack there. So, but anyway, you can see some very nice detail in here with, you know, these are bindings, it looks like, or what it should be, with some yellow paint on them, where it binds the armor together in each piece. And you see that down through the shoulder armor as well. And as you go around to the front, you can see that same thing under the chin. You know, just very nice sculpt work in the armor. That same brown wash going on to give it detail. You know, just awesome paint apps. Some brown wash here on the front. The sheath's got a little more detail than the one we just saw. A little silver paint app there. You know, a different shade with the binding around here, around the belt. Some nice yellow. And some more of these binding knots tying the armor in together. Some nice texture, you know, under here. And there's actually some nice texture on the arms too. Can't see it completely, but it is there. And see if we can brighten that up just a little bit so you can kind of make that out. And you can see there's the same thing going on underneath. Some nice texture in there, you know, on the leg. And try and get up under here too. Some nice wrinkles sculpted in, gives it that poofed out look. Same thing on the back, you know, just really nice. As we look down here, you know, not sure what this is supposed to be, but just some more detail. And you can see there's like a black wash in there, so that's really nice. More silver paint apps. And on this side, you got like a honeycomb pattern. Looks really nice. Just through and through, great sculpting, great paint detail. Sculpting even goes underneath the boots. It just looks really nice. Just look at the back of the figure, and you can see, you know, nice silver paint apps on that. This is the holder for the sheath that we saw earlier, and it fits right in there. And you can see on the gloves, more silver, and a little closer look at those hands. You know, the same brown wash that we see all over. You know, giving it a weathered or dirty look. And some nice sculpt on the gloves. So overall, just a really good looking figure. Alright, now looking at articulation, and I said I had some gripes here. And I'll just be honest, in the course of reviewing this figure, these joints and articulation have become extremely loose, which is a huge disappointment for me. So we'll take a look at the head, and I'm just going to pre-warn you, there may be some joints that pop off here as we go through this. So the head moves up this far, it moves down this far, but there is some shift, and as you can see, the figure just came apart. This is a huge problem with this figure. And I mentioned gripes at the beginning, but as I've gone through the review, I've noticed that this is just a huge defect, it seems like, with these figures. And it does pop easily back on, and I'll talk about it in more detail in just a moment. But as you saw right then, that's happened multiple times while shooting this video. And at one point, I got frustrated and almost did not finish the review on this figure. So we'll move forward, because there are some good things here to see. This piece here is articulated. As you can see here, it's on a hinge. The head does shift back and forth, so you can get some more head movement down by shifting it forward. And try and see that. Upper arms, and same problem here. The shoulder pads are articulated, but they tend to pop off really easy when you try to move them. They're on a joint in here, so we're just going to take them off because I don't want to fool with them anymore, honestly. But here's the hinge they're on. I mean the ball, and you can see these are articulated. The arm will move up this far, which is really nice. It's got some range of motion joint in there, and you can see it's double jointed. It's got some upper arm swivel, moves that far. The hands are on a hinge, and like we talked about before, they're very difficult to put on. Now, like I was saying, no ab crunch here. He moves back that far, moves forward that far. But when you go to move him back or position his legs, typically what happens is this thing just comes off. So, you know, we'll take a look at that and I'll show you what happens. The first few times it happened, I've gotten used to controlling now, but the whole thing just fell apart. The legs popped off because they just pop off really easy, and you're left with a pile of parts here. So the best way to do this is to put the legs back together, and you can see there's a range of motion joint in there, by the way, but get them back together and scoot that piece back down on there, and then put your skirt piece or whatever where it's flush and hold it together, and then you can pop his torso back on. And yeah, you'll lose a leg sometimes, so you'll have to start over. So it's back on again, and if I wasn't holding it in front of the camera, it's a little easier to do, quite honestly. You know, I can do it in about a second now, but there he is back together. But it's just a huge disappointment. I didn't have this trouble with the Vader movie realization samurai figure I have, but it's a huge issue on this figure. So moving on, and the legs will move out that far, and you know, you dare not move them any farther or they tend to pop off. So, you know, sadly, they do have double jointed knees, something that was missing with the Vader, and you see that there. And let's get him straightened back out so we can see the rest of this articulation. Leg will move farther, move forward that much, move back about that much, which is good. You know, moving him any further than that, and again, you're starting to lose those legs. They're popping off. So we can get a better look at those hips moved out. Feet are on a ball hinge, and you can see they move that far up and that far down, and they rotate around. If you want a rocker, you kind of have to play with it and get the ball joint around, and then you can rock it. Let's see if I can get that to do right. Yeah, then you can rock it back and forth. So, you know, not a true rocker, but and you can see the leg just popped off again. So this is very disappointing, you know, to see this on this import figure. And here he is next to the Bandai movie realization Vader from this same series. Scales very well with him. You can see Vader is a little taller, should be, you know, and he's more imposing. And I think he came in at, you know, over 7 inches when I got him in. And let's see, Stormtrooper's posed, but probably at full height, he's probably still a little below 7 inches. So, you know, very large figures, both, but I think they scale well together. You know, I can't wait to get the the red Royal Guard to go with the Vader as well. That's the one that I'm most wanting from this series. You know, and I'd love to troop build Stormtroopers, but at that price point, you know, I can't afford to do that. It would look cool, but, you know, we'll suffice with this so far. And I like how they look together. And here he is compared to a couple other Stormtroopers. Got the Star Wars Black Series from Hasbro here in the middle, Stormtrooper, and you can see he towers over him quite a bit. And then we've got a recently reviewed die-cast Disney Elite Series First Order Stormtrooper, and you can see they scale about in the same height. So all in all, I gotta say, I got some mixed feelings on this figure. I love the sculpt, I love the paint apps, I love the movie realization line and the idea behind it, the inspiration of the samurai, which is very cool. He looks very nice next to Vader. But quality control, or just quality in general, you know, I really am disappointed in this figure. You know, the fact that the joints coming apart like that and the legs coming off is just a huge disappointment. You know, price point, I was in this thing at 80 because I pre-ordered it. Amazon, I think last time I looked, had them at 120. No way I would probably buy this thing again at 120 for sure, but it would be a hard sell even at 80 right now with what I've seen on the figure. So I'll let you make your mind up on it. You know, if it's going to be stationary and posed, you know, then you're probably not going to run into a lot of problems here. But you know, if you're wanting to dynamically pose it and move it around quite often, then it's definitely going to present some issues for you. Thank you again for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe. If you enjoyed the review, please click like. Again, I appreciate each of you and appreciate your comments. This was a difficult video to make with all the problems with the posing, and I appreciate you sticking in with me through all that. And appreciate the comments of late, and just thank you guys for watching, and we'll keep it coming. We'll see you soon.